Hello, listener, and welcome to Book 3, Chapter 10 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In this week's chapter, a wizard goes on a rant about real magic and accessing real magic. Real Magic, written and read by Chris Hussey. Oh, no! Jeff rubbed his temples in frustration after putting the book down on his end table. He could feel his anxiety ramping up. Realizing this, he released some of the pressure on the sides of his head, pushed his lips out to the raspberry position, and exhaled. 1, then 2, then 3 deep and steady breaths as his mind repeated the mantra. They keep getting it wrong. They keep getting it wrong. And that's okay. And that's okay. It keeps the secret hidden that much longer. It keeps the secret hidden that much longer. Objectively, Jeff knew this was a good thing. It really was. But for reasons that he could only chalk up to some sort of morbid curiosity, he couldn't stop himself from constantly checking, constantly reading. His bookshelves were filled with hundreds of books from all main and sub genres of fantasy, and every single one of them got magic wrong. Subjectively, this absolutely enraged him, drove him crazy, forced him to shout conversations to only himself, his dogs, and his hamsters about the fact. Well, and that one slod, it listened intently. Jeff would rant on for easily 30 minutes to his pets, tearing apart the author, the book, and the approach. Every little mistake that was made. Jeff had to give himself some credit, though. When an author got a detail right, he would praise it. Yes! He would scream, causing his dog, Fellatio Hornblower, or Fella for short, to recoil reflexively, thinking he might be in trouble. The hamsters never seemed to care. They just kept hiding shit in the wood shavings and running on their wheel. Ever since Jeff developed the gift, developed his skills in magic, and learned where to find spells, rituals, and other abilities, he also seemed to develop the ability to be incredibly judgmental about the earnest attempts by those not in the know about how magic truly worked, to make it seem like they were in the know about how magic truly worked. And Jeff knew that they were just trying to make a living. I mean, even he, a highly skilled practitioner of the gift, still had to pay bills and groceries to buy. The mantra wasn't working. Jeff looked back down at the book. For some reason, this one really bothered him. He had high hopes for it, especially when he read the portion where the wizard wannabe protagonist was learning that magic can be found everywhere around, and that looking in the unexpected places was the best place to search. The hero was going to find the power and the spell to defeat the rising evil. That drew a loud yes that he screamed towards Hornblower. It was followed by a, "This could be it, fella." His dog responded with a whimper, and the hamsters continued to not care. Then the protagonist turned toward yet another ancient text to see what could be learned. "No!" Jeff screamed, causing Fella to leave the room and the hamsters to perk up for 1.35 seconds to see what the noise was, then go back to not caring. But Jeff pressed on reading, hoping something would be salvaged from the text. There was nothing to salvage in Jeff's opinion, and that was where he found himself presently. A turquoise cloud formed in front of him, a yellow flicker inside the mist. Oh, right. Perfect timing. Jeff thought to himself as he stared at the nimbus, drew a welcoming symbol in the air, and spoke the guttural word of greeting. The clouds parted, and the slod poked his head through. Jeff was always happy to see the slod. He was even more pleased when he got to tell the beast that as far as the appearance and name of this extra-dimensional species went, people here on Earth got it right with the word slod. There was plenty that was wrong, but the name and appearance? Spot on. The slod's face was wide, with a smile that went from end to end. The yellow skin was dotted with deep brown flecks, and the red eyes bulged at the top. The entire visage was covered with a translucent sheen of whatever fluid or mucus the slod excreted over its skin. "Hey, Jeff," it spoke in a low, cartoonish voice. The kind of voice that usually belonged to a big animal character that wasn't too bright. "Hey," Jeff answered back. "I'm really glad you're here." He was about to continue, but the creature cut him off. "Another book again?" "Yeah. How'd you know?" "Jeff, we've talked about this. When you yell like that, you invoke enough power to travel through the planes. And because we've developed a connection and are friends, I can hear you even more. It's so much louder." The slod slapped his lips together several times. Jeff nodded. "Right, I forgot about that. This author was so close this time. He almost had it." The amphibious creature nodded in acknowledgement. "What was it this time, Jeff?" Jeff stood and started gesturing wildly as he spoke. He got it right that magic can be found hidden in the plain sight of unexpected places, but then perused an ancient text as such a place. The slod croaked. "Well, that doesn't even make sense." Jeff nodded. "Exactly. The ancient text is the exact expected place to find magic. And it's there, don't get me wrong." Jeff pointed at the book. Now, the author tried to indicate that there was some deeper magic hidden in said text, and while possibly true, he ignored the reality of the situation. The slod croaked in acknowledgement once again. "Did I ever tell you I found some of my most powerful spells in lyrics from Partridge Family songs?" The slod's eyes bulged in surprise. "You have not." "It's 100% true. You remember when I created that typhoon a couple years back? The one that, quote-unquote, just came out of nowhere?" The slod started to push the rest of his body through the portal and into the room. "Jeff, you know I don't watch television, much less look at weather reports on your world." Jeff waved the comment away. "Right, I forgot. Anyway, huge storm, one of the biggest ever recorded. Now, I kept it out of the Pacific Ocean, away from land, just to test the magic. Anyway, I learned how to do that from the song Rainmaker by the Partridge Family. All the spell's components are in the lyrics. You just have to know how to interpret them. But you don't need all the components. That's the real trick. The power of the spell scales with what you know. It's a very subtle and clever design." Jeff started pacing around the room, lost in his sermon, while the slod finished exiting the portal. "Tell me more, Jeff. You never really talked about the details." "Well, first things first, of course, you know you need to be open to the possibility of magic. I mean, that's Wizardry 101 right there." "Jeff, that's another reference I don't understand." "It doesn't matter. You get the idea. But, lyrics. So, right off the bat, we have scarlet ribbon in her hair. Easy. Boom. With that scarlet ribbon taken from the hair of a woman, not bought from a store, you've got the foundation of a small storm." "Jeff, I don't know the lyrics of the song." "You just need to look them up online. I know you know how to do that. I showed you the internet before." The slod croaked in agreement. "Now, as you add components, you ramp up the storm's chaos. Chaos, like, where you're from." Jeff referred to the plane of existence where the slod resided. It was a realm of pure chaos and destruction, filled with never-ending storms, howling winds, deadly lightning, and devastating earthquakes. Deep down, Jeff knew that the slod wanted nothing more than to spread that chaos across all the planes of existence, just like nearly every other being from any of the other planes of existence. But such things were impossible. There was never any bleed-through from one plane to another. If an entity from one plane wanted to bend and shape another plane to match its home realm, they had to do the process from the target plane. And such antics were always happening. Always. The slod nodded, moving about the room. "Jeff, please continue. I'm enjoying this story." "Right, yes. So, the line, does she have to be free? Now, that's a note to the wizard that they must exercise minimal control over the storm they created. Too much direction and control and it'll fizzle out. Plus, free roaming storms build up more power and more destruction." Croaked the slod. Now, the next two lines are where you can really amp up the power. The line, "Love was only yesterday, and now tomorrow waits in vain. She never promised me she'd stay, so a stranger to my love will still remain." What that means is you need to take something, or better yet, someone, and forget about them. Remove them from your memories, but make sure they don't forget about you. That emotion feeds the storm, big time.
Go on.
The Slod moved closer to Jeff, who was oblivious to the creature's motions, utterly lost in his speech. Then you take the line, "I guess you know she took the best part of me." That indicates personal sacrifice, and the deeper the sacrifice, the more power gained.
"Oh, that's sad,"
said the Slod. "Not as bad as you think. Like you, we're always changing, so the best parts of us always renew. Eventually, you don't miss what you've lost." The Slod was close now.
"That's nice, Jeff. You're the best part of me, you know."
Jeff turned. The Slod was right next to him. He realized he'd never been this close to the massive beast. Fear roiled over him. "What?"
"Our friendship, Jeff. It's the best part of me. You, as my friend."
Jeff smiled. "Hey, thank you. That's very touching." The Slod returned Jeff's smile. A mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth revealed by curled lips. Jeff's fear roiled again. "Hey," he spoke with a slight nervousness in his voice.
"Yes?"
The Slod spoke. "I just realized you never told me your name. If we're friends, I should at least know..." In a flash, the Slod's mouth opened and closed tightly over Jeff's head and neck, snapping clear through and separating it cleanly from his shoulders. The Slod reached his senses out, feeling the magic swirling from the attack and the focus on the incantation.
Jeff was right,
he thought. He could feel the power. Carefully directing it, the Slod kept the mystical energy close. A rumble of thunder sounded outside, quickly followed by the patter of rain starting. The Slod swallowed Jeff's head whole as it listened to the rain.
Perfect timing,
it thought. Author's note. So this story actually sort of has its ideas rooted in the whole idea of playing music backwards and hearing whether it's, satanic messages or secret hidden messages, that kind of thing. And so I had this idea, like, what if the codes and incantations and magic words for spells were actually hidden in song lyrics, and even better, were hidden in unexpected song lyrics, things actually opposite of what you might expect such things to be. And from that genesis, the story kind of built around this whole idea about a wizard who was obsessed with seeing if people could get it right and would get actually really out of proportion angry when they didn't, even though he knew if they did figure this out, that might mean the end of the secret of magic as we knew it. So it was just kind of a fun experiment, and I had been listening actually to Partridge Family music, and as I listened to the song Rainmaker, that idea then really coalesced into the story. And I've always been a fan of the Slod as a creature from Dungeons and Dragons, and so I kind of wanted to use them for this. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, please visit bitesizedtales.com. We look forward to reading to you next time.